Irem has become the next company to bring back a game from the peak of the Famicom boom. It almost feels like these publishers were banking on some nostalgia. Maybe used copies getting passed around enough over the years that people would be interested when they saw a new game. The original Kaiketsu Yanchamaru was an arcade game, and the Famicom version came home in late 1987. That game was released outside of Japan as Kid Nikki Radical Ninja. This new Kaiketsu Yanchamaru game has a subtitle, Karakuri Land, or Puppet Land, which I guess means that most of what you encounter are puppets. The plot is the usual: a princess has been kidnapped, and so everyone's favorite ninja with a twirling sword, Yanchamaru, has to go rescue her. There are 8 stages in Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 2, and you can do the first 3, and only the first 3, in any order. Once you've cleared those 3, then the remaining 5 are always in the same order, regardless of the order that you did the original 3 in. Pressing the B button will twirl your sword, and in this game pressing up and B will twirl it above you, while if you're jumping, pressing down and B will twirl it below you. Naturally, A jumps. And technically, that's all you really need to know about the game. It's perfectly possible to get through the whole thing with only this base attack. In fact, you might want to do that. There aren't any power-ups for the sword, the pickups that you can find are minimal, and at the end of the game you really do have to just rely on the sword spinning technique. But that said, there are a few options for you. One of the items that will appear in bells when you hit them are the potions. I'm tempted to call them sake jugs, but I think they're really supposed to be potions. If you hit start, you'll bring up a menu, and here you can select one of 5 powers to use. Using any of these costs some potion, some more than others. The 2 to the left of the coin are attack power-ups, while the 3 to the right of the coin are transformations. Starting from the left, you have the Death Calling Sword. It changes your attack from spinning your sword out in front of you to shooting a wave. You get 9 shots of it when you use this ability, and you can shoot it above and below you. For a bigger oomph, you can use the Thunder God ability. It surrounds you with a field that will damage anything that touches it. There's a countdown in the lower right-hand corner for any powers on timers, and they all start at 9 seconds. The first transformation is the Frog transformation. With it you can fit into tiny spaces and jump as high as the screen. The Elephant transformation is probably the most useless ability in the game. You're totally indestructible, but you can't jump. There aren't enough long, flat areas to make it really worthwhile. Finally, with the Hawk transformation you can fly. Just hold down the A button and move around the screen. You can't use any of these abilities when you reach a boss, but you could use the abilities before you reach a boss. And for the attack powers, having them active when you reach the boss trivializes the fight, although the boss fights are pretty trivial to begin with. Besides the magic potions that you get out of the bells, you could also get coins, which are just worth a few points, pictures of Yanchamaru's face that grant an extra life, although I don't think it really looks a lot like him. And finally, pictures of the princess's face, which give you 1 point of health back. Yanchamaru has 3 points of life to start with, and health recovery is plentiful. I definitely died more to falling into holes than getting hit. Collecting the sandals from the bells will make you run faster, but not jump higher. There's a real issue with the visual design in the game, where it's tough to know what you can stand on and what will hurt you. Like here, you can stand on these women's bodies, and you'll only get hit when the head moves. Or at this pit, which is the platform, the black ball or the brown wheel? It's the black ball. There's one more thing that you'll find on stages that looks like a collectible, but you shouldn't touch it. That's this exit symbol. It occurs on the first few stages, and it'll throw you back to the map and stage selection. There are hidden rooms on some stages where if you step on just the right spot, you'll be teleported elsewhere, and then collect a few items. Because there's not really a power-up progression or a whole lot of collectibles, you really don't need to find these. The bosses in Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 2 are not good. Most of them take 5 hits to defeat, so if you show up with full health, you can outpace their damage. The designs are pretty neat, but the attack patterns are weak and boring. The one place where the bosses become a challenge is on the final stage, which is a gauntlet of 6 bosses in a row. If you're really stocked up on magic potion, you might be able to use it to help you get through and get some of the recovery items, because they're out of reach. But odds are you're going to have to rely on your sword for a lot of this. That's really the only hard part in the game. Admittedly, I've beaten Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 2 before, but just once, and that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was still at the end credits at the 30-minute mark. It is an astoundingly easy game. I have to question how effective Irem's revival of the Kaiketsu Yanchamaru series was, because nobody has anything to say about this game. I mean, they'll barely acknowledge its existence. Even the people who played it seem to only go as far as to say, yeah, I played that one. I can't remember the last Famicom game to get such a resounding shrug from the Japanese public. Still, it must have sold okay at the time, because Irem would go on to make a 3rd game. My feeling on Kaiketsu Yanchamaru 2 is that it's decent. By far the best thing in the game is the level design, and how every stage has a unique set of enemies. There might only be 8 stages, but they're all distinctive. But it is terminally easy. The power-ups and the transformations in particular aren't really necessary. I think the frog was the one that I found the most helpful, and that should have been the cheap and easy one. This is the kind of thing that you'll play, go, yeah, I had fun with that, and then go on.